Mujevale. My name is Bani Kivuka, and welcome to another episode of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. And today, I bring to you one of my good friends, my brother Terri. Brother Terri, can you say hi to our listeners?
Hello, all. May God bless you.
Yeah, man, I just couldn't wait to host you to my podcast. Ever since I started it, I had people in my mind that I really wanted to host on here because I started this podcast for people to share their stories. And having spent time with you in college, sharing with me your stories, I was like, I need to host my brother here to come and share some of his stories with my listeners. Now, before we start into your story, I just want to give a flashback on how we met. Do you remember how we met as friends?
We met over in M9, Great Lakes Christian College in the men's dorm Hasty building. And from there, we got to know each other a little bit as roommates. And then we began to work with each other in the school's cafeteria. And as we talked more and got to know each other more,
When I started at Great Lakes Christian College, I didn't even know who my roommate was going to be. I didn't even know what room I was going to be in. And then Ryan just put me in your room. But I know at the beginning we didn't really know each other. It was just like hard to know each other and just get to know each other. But as time went on, we started working together and talking to each other and encouraging each other. You became like a brother to me, and our friendship really grew. And you've been a blessing in my life, Terri.
oh, thank you. Same. You've been the same for me,
Now, one
Bonnie.
of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on my podcast is I believe you grew up in a different background than most people, than me. I mean, there are things that we have in common, but your background is different from what I grew up. And I believe like the stories we share on here encourage other people who are listening. And just to begin, will you tell us where you were born?
Were you the very,
Yeah.
very first place I was born?
Were you born twice?
All right, all right. Well, born again, but no, just once naturally. Well, me, I started out. I was born over in Detroit, Michigan. Um, Both of my parents um, were crackheads and alcoholics. So I was the child that was born, and then immediately I was taken away
Hmm.
from my parents, and I was a very sick baby, only a pound and 6 ounces, premature. And pretty much from the beginning, I was told that I was not going to be able to live. From what they tell me, I was not going to be able to live. I was too sick. I had too much alcohol. I had alcohol and crack cocaine in my system when I was born. Um, but God blessed me with, I don't know what the timing was, but within a few years for another woman to adopt me by the name of Dorothy Joe Stoker Walker, and Dorothy Walker, who I call affectionately call Mama. So if you hear me say Mama, that's for my adopted mom, and then if I say Mother or Cassie, that's for my biological mother. Um, but Mama grew us up and reared us up over on the east side of Detroit.
Okay. Is that the place, Taylor, where I went with you at one time to take you back from school?
No, no. So that's where I live now. I
Okay.
moved around a lot. I lived on the east side, then I lived on two different places on the west side. Then I lived out in Clinton Township. These are all different places around Detroit. If you're familiar with it, Clinton Township for about 6 months while I ran away, and then had to come back for a little bit, and then I moved out to Taylor until I graduated from high school, and then of course, came up to
Okay.
Lansing for Great Lakes.
Now, I know you've mentioned a little bit
Mhm.
of your growing up. Is that like, how was your life growing up? I know you've mentioned about growing up when your parents are crackhead. Like, how was that like for you growing up?
Mhm. Well, so growing up, I was really, like I said, I was adopted as a baby. So my mama, being my adopted mom, never told us that we were adopted. So we thought she was our real mother. She actually had a scar because of her first child, my oldest brother, who now is up in his 60s. her actual biological child, she had to have a C-section or something like that. So she had a scar on her stomach. So she told us that's how we came out. And us being children and not knowing any better, we believed it, even though all of us was different shapes and
Hmm.
sizes, and we look different. And some of us real dark, and some of us are like me. We
Yeah.
almost look white, we almost look white. They might mistake us as being white. We all believe we all were siblings because this is what Mama told us. So I never had to endure really my mother, Cassie, while she was struggling with her
Mm.
addiction. But my mama, she was always a sicker lady. She had, I think, through the course of her life, she had 9 or 10 strokes, a heart attack. And this all while we were growing up. So a lot of that we had to help our mom and take care of our mama. And I was what they would call the golden child. I was my mama's favorite,
Mm.
So even though I never came from my mama, I ended up being her favorite child. I was the baby, which my siblings did not like, but God bless their
Yeah,
souls.
yeah. I don't think many siblings will like that when one of the child is like considered the favorite. But now, in your
Hmm.
childhood, did you get to play any games as when you were younger?
Games as far
Like
as what?
no,
Like you talking like
like
sports
just
or?
games kids play, like anything, like in you. I talk about how in Uganda we play hide and seek, things like that, just like as little kids. Like, did you ride? Because I know some of the stories of how like kids riding bikes on the blocks or around the area, things like that. Anything you
Oh
did
yeah.
with your friends when you were little.
Yeah, so we were very sheltered as kids because my mom was a very old lady. She was born in
Oh, wow.
1941. So her being a very old lady, she was very overprotective. Especially, like I said, I was the favorite, but that wasn't all good. So she was very overprotective of me. So yeah, we played things like hide and seek. We played in the house a lot. Um, but of course, had to ask
Yeah.
to go outside, and even had to ask and sometimes beg to just go next door. We weren't really allowed to pass the fence because, come on, we lived
Hmm.
in Detroit, and us not knowing any better, but it wasn't the best area to live
Right.
in. Um, and a funny story about me about riding bikes is when I started learning how to ride a bike because my mom was so overprotective, we only could ride our bikes in the backyard. So the driveway between the gate and the garage. That's how I learned how to ride a bike. I don't believe we had training wheels. I guess I might have been too old for training wheels at that time when I first got my bike. Um, and I did not have a helmet, so I hit my head on the side of the house, side of that brick house, a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I was happy, and I thought I was on an adventure when I could ride down to the corner,
Yeah.
which was only 2 houses down. I thought I was on an adventure, 2 houses down, to the corner and
Yeah.
back.
Uh,
But that was a very
Yeah,
short
I share
living.
my story too. How I learned to ride a bike, and I fell multiple times, and you would believe that you can learn how to ride a bike till you fall multiple times or hit yourself or do
Mm,
something crazy like that. Now, you mentioned
right.
about your siblings, your relatives. Would you say your family was an extended family, or how many siblings did you have growing up? How big was your family?
Growing up, I had six. I
Hmm.
think it was six of us. I guess it would be more of an extended family because a lot of my siblings. So I would say it's probably out of us, it's 5 of us that's really like the main siblings to this day. We still like the main, like we feel like together, our brothers and sisters. But then we've had other siblings that we count as our sisters or brothers. Some of us may count them as sisters and brothers. The other ones may not. They may count them more of a cousin. Um, but it was mainly us five or six. I can't remember now. In that house that we really grew
Yeah.
up around.
When did you separate from or leave your siblings when you were little? When did you get separated, or did you? grew up with all of them till you were grown up and went to college?
So it's kind of sporadic. So let me dive a little bit into my biological family. On my biological family, I'm one of 10. Um, so I'm one of 10, and then six, like five or six adopted siblings. So the biological, I never met them until just a couple years ago. So I never even knew them, at all. And then on my adopted side, it was kind of all over the place because one sister was there, but she was more like, if I can use the term, and if she hear this, forgive me. I hope I don't offend, but she's more as if a foster child because her mother was still in her life. My mom had her for a while, and then she went back kind of to her mother, and that's a different
Okay.
story that I'm not going to dive into. And then the rest of my siblings, we kind of were around. One of my sisters was in and out of juvenile, but she is my second oldest sister, and was such a help for my mother, such a help for my mother. But she took the most and helped the most with my mother, really. Um, well, one of the most, I should say. And then she kind of dwindled out when my mother got sick and put up in a nursing home. She got pregnant, and more so, she had to leave because of certain situations.
Yeah, that
She
gets sad and complicated when some of the things are not going right with some of your siblings and some of these people. You care about them and we care about them. So I would imagine the something that goes through your life. Now, this is where I want to ask you, for all that you've told us so far, if there is anything in your past that you would change, what would it be?
I'm one of those people. I don't believe I would
Right.
change anything. In all honesty, I don't feel like I would change anything because these things are the reason I am who I am today. So to me, I would not change these things
Hmm.
personally. Personally speaking, I would not change these things. Um, it would be something. Well, I wouldn't say it would be something that I would like that could be different, but no, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't change anything. None of them. Not even the deaths of the loved ones. I would
Yeah,
not change
that's
them.
somebody asked me that
Sir.
question when I sent out a Q&A, and somebody asked me what I would change in my past, and that's the same thing I say, like I wouldn't change anything because what I've been through has made me who I am. Rather, I was different with you, but I just
Hmm.
said I would change the loss of my loved ones because some of them I really cared for them and I really wanted them in my life. And if I had the power, I would change that and bring them back.
Yeah, but even those I wouldn't because I take the belief. I don't know if it's more philosophical or theological, but I take the belief that those, especially those that who have believed on Jesus and in Jesus, they're better off
Right.
than me and you, because me and you, we still have sad days, we still gonna have sick days, and ultimately one day we gonna have to leave this world, lest we be
Hmm.
raptured. They're already in that place. They're already experiencing joy. They already experience full peace. They already are allowed to see Jesus in peace. Where me and you, we long for that
Right.
day.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like I wouldn't
Hmm.
change that. Not to change anybody's belief. They have the right to feel the way they
Right.
want to believe. Or
Yeah, and
feel
if you
rather.
explain it like that, it makes sense to me. But I didn't go into like the belief or anything. I was just top of my head, and that's the one thing that I can think of, if anything. But yeah, I get your point on what you're trying to talk about. And actually, I was gonna ask you about the loss of the loved ones that you've had. But I think I now get a picture on how you look at that, because I know you have had a lot of losses, not even your family, but some of your best friends. Do you want to talk about some of those losses that you've had? Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can definitely talk about those. Cause even the other week when I spoke at church, I said something, and some people did not like what I said, and I could tell. by some of the looks and different comments that I got. Because I said, when a loved one dies, a lot of times we're grabbing onto the sheets, we're crying and we're wailing, and we acting like people who don't have hope. And people took it to me as if, well, are we not supposed to be sad when somebody dies? And no, I don't mean that, because being sad and grieving is a normal part of life. Please grieve. Please be sad. If somebody was important in your life, yes, it's going to be hurtful. Yes, it's going to be sad. So go ahead and be sad. It's okay to cry about that, but just realizing that we are believers, these people, it's this isn't the end for us, and that's what really gives me hope. Through the loss of my mother, understanding I was 14 years old, what was I, 14, 15 years old when my mama
Yeah.
died. She went home to be with the Lord, and I mean that was probably one of the hardest deaths I had to go
Mhm.
through. One of the hardest deaths I went through is saying goodbye to my mama, and now I'm living with other people. I've been with other people, and to feel so powerless,
Mhm. Speaking about living with other people, I want to take you back to the day you got adopted. I don't know if you remember that day when you got adopted. What did it feel like?
Well, I was a baby. I was still pooping in my diapers, so I guess I was
Yeah.
happy. I mean, I didn't have to worry about nothing. When my mom adopted me, I still was very
Okay.
sick. When mama adopted me, when she adopted me, I was very sick, but I was still a baby. I was still in my diaper. So like I said, I didn't know I was adopted until maybe a year before my mama passed. And that's just because I found some papers. And even when showing her the papers and saying, Mama, these papers say I'm adopted, I thought you was my mother. She denied it to the day she
Mm.
died. Go
How
ahead,
did
sir.
your life change like after the day you knew you were adopted?
Uh, well, while mama was still alive, um, it it really didn't change. I was very so much more appreciative towards the fact that not knowing the circumstances of my adoption at that point really,
Right.
but I was more thankful and appreciative of my mama. Knowing that she decided to get a why would you want to go and get a little sick baby? A baby that probably ain't gonna have really no chance of living. Get this sick baby. I'm not gonna talk about the rest of my siblings. I'm gonna talk about me, and take this baby and nurse this baby back to
Mm.
health.
Yeah.
You know, and this baby could die at any second. This baby could die. This baby could be gone, and now you done fell in love with this baby. You don't really care for this baby, and now you heartbroken. That seems crazy.
Mhm.
So to me, I was very so much more appreciative that my mom went out her way like she did.
Yeah.
You know, and it made me love her more. Now, like I said, I was the favorite child, so there was a lot of love already there.
I would too. Like I would just be appreciative. And from the story you've told us, like who would want to adopt a sick child? That shows you that there was some good intentions of the person that adopted you, and that will still live in your heart to be thankful. Or like you said, like and in the along that line, like what we've already talked about, we've mentioned about the many deaths that you've had of friends, relative, loved ones. What are some of the challenges that have come due to these many deaths?
Well, it's my biggest thing, and I guess it goes along with me knowing that I'm adopted, is the fear of abandonment. And I've gotten better with it, but sometimes I still struggle with it. Is that fear of being abandoned? That fear of building relationships. Um, and because now, these people gone, they're asleep, they don't have to worry about anything else. And now I'm looking and I'm alone. I'm alone. I've been, if I can use the word, abandoned by these people. Whether by their choice or not, I've been abandoned. I've been
Yeah.
left behind. So that's probably the hardest thing that I struggle with. And then for a while I had the irrational rather, thought that I could have did more. I should have did more. Why didn't I do this? So a lot of regret came along with that, and that's why I live every day to like the fullest. That's why I try to love people as much as I can. And it's because if God forbid that a friend goes to sleep, and whether they go to heaven or hell, I don't know about the eternal judgment. But what I do know is I did everything that I can do. That I've loved this person as much as I can.
Yeah, that's
You know.
that's that's something. At least there's a positive thing that you take out of something that negative that has happened. And we've talked about a lot of negative things that have happened, struggles, and some of the things you've not talked about. And I wanted to ask you a question like, through all these things that are happening in your life, what keeps you going? What keeps you motivated? Like, what's something that's behind all this that's pushing you to go forward?
Well, the biggest thing that may be cliche for those that don't know, I am Christian. I'm somebody I believe in Jesus Christ. And I'm firm on that. So it's really my faith in Jesus and believing that He will see me through. One of my favorite things to say is, "On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground be sinking sand. I dare not trust the sweetest fame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name." And it's really the strength that I draw from believing in Jesus. It's the strength I draw from trusting in Jesus that keeps me going and believing that He will and He can see me through no matter what happens. And that's what really keeps me through it all.
Yeah.
Is the fact that I'm believing and trusting in Jesus. That's really where all my strength comes from. Is knowing that Jesus is and Jesus will continue to make a way for me. It's not always easy. It's not always fun. I don't like it all the time. But it's the fact that I'm believing Jesus to work it out for me. You know,
That is really encouraging, and somebody who doesn't know Jesus, and that's something that somebody can take away from this conversation, or the story. Somebody hearing your story, and I from knowing you from college, I know there's much to your story than what we've talked about, and I'm gonna have to bring you back again another time and just we talk about some of the things because all this conversation we've talked about, we didn't mention father anywhere. So that's another topic that I don't want to bring about now that I want to host you again and we hear about your father, all the
okay.
story of the other side of your life. Now, moving from that, taking your memories back to college where we met, do you have any funny memories from college that you remember off your head?
Um, well, I don't know if it'd be funny to anybody, but those that really are on the inside, just the great memories we shared in the cafeteria. Almost every day was funny. Almost every day. Working, especially
Yeah.
working in the cafeteria or working on summer
Mm.
maintenance. I just loved really working with, especially Pat and Chris. Those were two
Yeah.
comedians for sure. Um,
Yeah, one thing I remember about you is the board you had where we had the countdown
oh
of the
yeah.
days we have remaining to
hmm
graduate. That's one thing that every time I sit down, I remember. Oh, Terry had a countdown of these days that we were just writing, and every day I asked you, Terry, how many days to
hmm
graduation?
Right, right.
And then you just sit out. But that all came to pass. But I appreciate and I admire the times we share, and I'm thankful for like God to bring people like you in my life because we sharpen, like you say, iron sharpens iron. Like you help me in some areas, I help you, and we all lift each other. And I love to hear your story and what you've been through, and still standing strong. But somebody somewhere who is going through these same things can hear a person like you who went through all that and you're still standing and still have faith and that'll keep somebody else going. And that's the main reason why I decided to do this podcast for people to bring their stories that somebody out somewhere who is listening is going to hear this story and it will encourage
Right.
them to keep on going. I was going to ask you what you're doing now.
Just helping out the ministry as much as I can since I came home back in March.
Okay.
Last March to help my uncle as he had gotten sick. But since then, I've been at least preaching once a month at my church and just helping out the team and the church as much as I can, whether it be cleaning, whether it be in the finance department, whether it be whatever, watching the door, sweeping the floor, scrubbing toilets. I try to help in whatever way that I can.
All right.
And that's really what I do. And I base all that I do really on. It was an old hymn they used to sing in the church. Whatever you do for Christ, that's what's gonna last. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
I might have messed that up, but whatever's done for Christ, that's the only thing that's gonna last. Our money, our fame, all that's all gonna pass away, even our name and our story. But whatever we do for Christ, that's really what's gonna last. So that's what I try to do even now.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Terry, we're almost to the end, and I want to thank you for giving us these 30 minutes to just sit down and talk through your life and what you've been through. But before I let you go, I have a signature question that I ask everybody I host on this podcast. What gets you excited about life?
What gets me excited about life? Just life. Just happy, happy. You know me. I'm happy all the time. A lot of the time, I'm just
Hmm.
happy about life. Life itself makes me happy. Every day I open my eyes, I rejoice over that. Just being alive.
Yeah.
Being able. Cause I'm somebody I love to even now go sit out and look or go on walks and look at nature. Probably not now because it's getting cold, but usually I like to
Yeah.
go out and look and just seeing nature, seeing how
Hmm.
beautiful nature is, and that's something that really excites me and makes me grateful.
That's awesome because every time I ask somebody this question, what they say makes me excited about my own life. And yeah, I'm a person who loves nature, and seeing God creation gets me really excited about life. And Terri Stoker, I want to thank you very much again for sacrificing this time to just come and sit with us and chat with me on my podcast. Thank you very much and stay safe. Hey there, I am Bonnie Kibuka, the host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching my video, and don't forget to hit subscribe and share with a friend. Tune in every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for a new episode about my podcast. And for more information about this podcast, follow me on my Instagram page, talk_show_256.